Welcome back. My name is Greg Ball, and I'm with Embrace Boston, and I am your host for the Good Trouble podcast. And I am super excited today for our guests that we're going to be talking about. They are trailblazers. I believe you are the number 6 black-owned brewery in Massachusetts history.
5 right now.
Okay, but I'm saying you came in at 5. You came in at 5.
5 or 6. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have the official number.
Okay, we'll get you the details later. But I have the pleasure of being at the Brockton Beer Company, incredible company that's been a partner of Embrace Boston for some of our events. And I am sitting with one of the co-founders, and I'm sitting also with the head man in charge when it comes to the brews, the man who is the mix master of all the good things that come out of Brockton Beer Company. Welcome my guest, Justin Miller and Eval Silvera.
Hold on, we gotta get that right. We got Julian.
Oh, good Lord.
This is why they call it trouble, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We do something in trouble.
Exactly. This is what happens when I'm hanging with. See, we got this. Y'all can say
We gonna push that away from
we didn't even have none yet.
Cut him off.
This morning we have Julian Miller and Eval Silvera. Got that right? Okay. The folks who are part of the team that is Brockton Beer Company. Welcome to the Good Trouble podcast.
Yeah. Thank you.
So listen, we know that you have been making moves within the Boston and just the Massachusetts beer community for a while. Can you tell us kind of how things got started? Yeah. How did I know that the beautiful part, when I heard the story, I know it's just really about friendship and a bunch of friends coming together. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it. I mean, I know a lot of people do know the story, but for those who don't really know the story, I mean, we kind of got together as 5 families coming together through our kids. So for all 5 of us, I think all of us had one kid that was about the same age, and like we all had like soccer games going on. We used to get together and play like board games and hang out when they were coming in from like practices and all that stuff. So it was just kind of like, look, they're running around doing stuff. We need time for ourselves. Let's just bring the kids over there, let them run around over there, and then let's kind of hang out ourselves. Let's either chill, watch, whatever, play board games, and drink some beers. You know what I mean? Sometimes bourbons too. But we got into the mix and did some things. But the reality was when we started understanding what downtown Brockton was trying to do in terms of revitalizing downtown. We knew that, a few of us had experience in that world. So like myself, I've been a home brewer for a number of years, haven't done so in a while, but my other 2 partners, they've been in commercial experience as well. So we started talking, we were like, look, maybe we can put something together and do it. And with the help of our community, we were actually able to kind of build up, get some funding around that, and then kind of here's kind of where we are. I think the biggest piece was getting somebody like Julian, who's really aligned with our mission and our values of what we're trying to accomplish. Having him be on board really gave us the confidence to move forward, because we knew then at that point we had a solid product. We knew that everything that we're doing in terms of our backgrounds, our diversity of culture, diversity of profession, that we were going to show people something that was very different that people are used to seeing in the brewing industry. So that's kind of how we got started. This is kind of where we are today, but that's kind of the beginning parts.
Yeah. So we are in your tap room right here in downtown Brockton. What was the importance of kind of being here in this area? What you were talking about the city was trying to revitalize downtown or just bring some energy into downtown. Why was that something that just got you really excited?
Yeah, because I think what we saw was when we were going out and doing things in Brockton with other people from Brockton, a lot of people just didn't look like us, but did. You know what I mean? From different backgrounds, mostly marginalized locations or areas or cultures. And so we wanted to sort of bring that as the forefront and be a part of it. We knew, right, with someone like Julian, we knew we had a solid product, but we also knew that we had something that was special in terms of who we are and how we kind of represent part of the city. You know what I mean? So it was really important for us to be downtown, because that way everyone sees it. Right? If you know Brockton pretty well, this is almost dead center of Brockton. So right, you go east, you go out towards Abington, Rockland, and all that area. You go west, you're towards Stoughton, Canton. There's a lot of, I think there's 9 towns or so that surround Brockton. And so we wanted to sort of be that centerpiece as it pertains to a brewery that's downtown, but then also supporting our community and those around us.
I know that there's not that many brewmasters, like the people that are in charge of kind of the mix that are from the Black community, like how did you find Julian? Like where they make him at?
You tried to say it was like a needle in a haystack.
Exactly.
So one of our original founders, Pierre, he was actually credited just finding Julian and just kind of, I know when we first started talking, I think he brought me up to meet you as well, and we started kicking it a little bit. And you were, I mean, it wasn't just more of like, hey, join our team. It was more of like, look, help us understand kind of how to navigate this as well. Because I remember you gave us a lot of insight of how we could approach maybe starting this whole thing, whether it was doing it via contract or whatever. And I think the more and more we had conversations with Julian, I think the more and more we realized that, like, man, like, he need to be on the team.
So now, what made you, when you took the meeting or whatever, what kind of piqued your interest about that? What made you say, yeah, this might be something I could get involved in?
I mean, I feel like I got into the brewing industry for this main reason, was to have this reflect my household or my like way of life, kind of. So meeting, Pierre and Eval and Rowan and Ed and everyone, I was kind of like, this is like where I need to be at. If I'm going to continue to do this, this is what would make me happy as a brewer, from reflection of the diversity of the community and everyone that comes through the tap room, in and out. You just don't see that everywhere. So it puts a smile on my face every day that I come here.
Well, even before you got involved with these guys, how did you even get involved with that in that world? Because I know, a lot of times when certain industries, there's a high cost of entry. There's kind of things that just make it a little bit more difficult to kind of get in to be at a point where you're in charge of things. Like, so what was the thing that kind of piqued your interest? And kind of tell us a little about your journey to get to where you're at now.
Hard work and tenacity. Always been a hobbyist at heart, right? And kind of like, marching to your own drum kind of thing. So when I fell into the home brewing hobby, me being me, I tried to take it to the next level to perfect it. People started to notice, and kind of the rest was history at that point. But a little bit of schooling in there as well, just to, make sure checking that box for moms and everything, doing it right. But that being said, I mean, the journey's been kind of difficult, but I feel like this is like my happy place now. So,
we'll talk about that difficulty too, because I know that starting any business is hard, but then starting a business involving alcohol and you got so many moving parts. You got the distribution of your beer, you have the creation of your beer, you have your actual facility, your tap room. Like, what are some of the difficulties and challenges that you faced doing this?
Yeah, I mean, you want to take on your experience first? All right, well, because I mean, for me, and I know I might have mentioned this before, but for me, culturally, the way people from my background have always looked at beer, it's not necessarily always in the positive light. And I think what we're trying to do here, in terms of the intentionality of the ingredients and the way that we approach beer, going way back to its origins. For me, it's a special thing to kind of help people understand what that journey is like, what that means, because we do get a lot of folks that come in here that are still new to craft beer, and so we might get a question of, do you have a domestic that's on tap or whatever, and it's like, no, we just have the beers that we make. And then they're shocked, you know what I mean?
They're coming looking for a Bud Light.
Exactly. I didn't want to name names, bro.
I'm sorry.
But no, you're right.
But that's a domestic that people would,
yeah, for. Yeah. But then we give them something like our flagship Frederick and Maine, our American Light Lager. That's very similar, but just a little bit more flavor to it, And we kind of go through like what that process is like, and if we occasionally have a slow day, we might do a tour and kind of walk people through the process of how beer is made. And I think that gives them an appreciation and understanding. But it's a challenge. It's not that easy. I mean, for me, when I first got into craft beer, that was kind of I think I remember having like Dogfish Midas Touch, and there was like stuff in the beer, and I was just like, I was amazed at kind of how these things were, and I was just kind of like, well, how does this even work? And eventually getting into like home brewing, and then starting from a kit to grains and everything like that. Like for me, it was always learning about the process, and I think that was really important. I think that adds to the experience, you know. And so the challenge here is just really helping people see that when they walk through the door. So you'll notice we don't carry bar hours. We're not here until midnight at night. You know what I mean? We're traditional brewery hours. We're usually closed at 9 or on the weekends now at till 10 o'clock. Again, part of it's being very intentional about what we're trying to do here and helping you understand like what this is all about. You know what I mean? We don't just pour it and have you just go drink and be on your way. It's like, you know, get some of the notes, smell that, like see what that, and that in itself is a challenge. But for me, it's a great challenge.
But it's a different experience because, like you said, that I think there's many people approach beer with almost like a utilitarian kind of approach. Like, I'm not trying to have this, you know, this full encompassing experience. I'm trying to get sloshed. You know what I mean? So when you're saying not,
be like that.
Yeah. So when you're kind of taking people through kind of a more well-rounded experience around the beer, it feels like even the brews that you make, they're very intentional. Like, tell us about this one. This one that we have in front of us, Yasuke. Did I say it right?
Yasuke, yeah.
Yasuke. All right, Yasuke. Tell us about Yasuke.
Yasuke is a take on like a couple of different styles, two to be particular, dark lager and also a Kolsch beer, which traditionally are two different regions in Germany. But my interpretation of it was to bring something darker to the table with high drinkability, with also playing on like origins of the actual style of the Kolsch itself. So this is a black Kolsch. It's not a thing, but we made it a thing. So what brings you in even further, culturally speaking, is on the name itself. Yasuke was an African samurai that was appointed to this order in, I think, like the 1500s or something around that time. So he's the only one like known to come to that. You know, I always like to throw out the reference from slave to warrior, you know. So, but that's what this beer is. I think like it speaks for itself on many different levels.
Well, the thing that that kind of really fascinates me about you all as a company is that storytelling aspect that you infuse into all the pieces that you do. Like, tell us the other one that you had. The one that has the one that has the dragon fruit in it.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about that one. Kind of what was the story around that?
Yeah, and that's so it's Faded. It's part of our Faded series. It's fruited sours, and what we try to do is really be intentional about, you know, anything in our background or the community's background that we want to highlight. And, you know, with May being, you know, Asian American Pacific Islander Month, you know, our co-owner and my partner, Ed Cabellan, is Filipino. And one of the things we wanted to draw out was some of those Filipino fruits that are common, you know, and you know, this one I think is kiwi, dragon fruit, and calamansi. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to dive into.
I mean, that's in a nutshell what it is. I think all the flavors put together is pretty unique experience in the best way. I like to say it's almost like a fruit punch experience. But yeah, like the series is, you know, based upon those different iterations every single time, but also just having like a whole lot of fun with it.
But it feels like you're talking about the intentionality. It feels like that's intentional too, to be very to make it a point to call people in with the story. So you're talking about the Yasuke, you're talking about this one, and there was the other one that was the Ponderosa?
The Ponderosa.
Ponderosa,
yeah.
Tell us about that one, because that one has a unique story as well.
Yeah, and you will not be the first person to say Ponderosa.
Yeah.
I used to work in Ponderosa back in the day. I'm aging myself right now, but like, I used to, for real, be working on Ponderosa, slinging some wings, but that's another story. Ponderosa means powerful, and we worked with the Cape Verdean Women's United group in part because it was Women's Month in February. In March. But I think in general we wanted to again highlight a community that is doing something for women empowerment, and we went with Cape Verdean Women's United because they're doing so many great things for the community. But we also wanted to be intentional again with ingredients that might be familiar to folks in that region of Cape Verde. And this was probably the first time I heard like cashew fruit in terms of fruit. I was like, wait, what? Like, so I think they brought us cashew fruit, what was it, pomegranate and mango?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think hearing those three things, it's like, all right, well, you need to talk to the mad scientist over here because I don't know what we're gonna do with that. And a matter of fact, I'm still Googling like cashew fruit, trying to figure out. And so, I know if you want to take through kind of how you came up with that or that concept, but
I mean, really, it's just talking to the people from these like origins at the same time and realizing what's in their fruit basket at their house, when they go home, and taking that and interpreting it into a beverage is kind of what we did there with it.
Yeah. So I think it was cool too to take that from from the beginning parts and talking through, what's in your fruit basket to the actual day of like packaging, right? So I mean, you've been here, you've seen packaging happen. We brought them back to do that process and help us out. And then what we try to do is raise awareness for their organization. So releasing that beer was actually like we did a release party sort of thing, and they brought in some things that they could raffle off and raise money for their organization. So we were grateful to be able to provide a platform for them to raise money for their organization, and also introduce new people to the types of beers that we make. So I mean, that's important to us as well.
Yeah, it really feels like with Brockton Beer Company, there's this connection to the community that just kind of drives a lot of what you're doing. Yeah. Now, that we talked about all the fun and great things, but I can imagine getting into this business has had its challenges and difficulties. What are some of the challenges you face as a small startup or just getting yourself in there?
Hey man, how much time we got?
We got plenty of time. We're not gonna be here all day.
No, I know. I mean, look, there's obvious things. I mean, you and I can talk about it from days, but prior to even being a part of this industry as a brewer, going into these spaces of breweries and being like the only one is difficult in itself. Like, why would I even want to take the approach of starting a brewery when I don't see anybody who looks like me? Now that's changed a little bit. It's going into a much better place now, but it's not anywhere near where it needs to be. Raising capital is always a challenge. I think that's a challenge for any business, no matter what you're into. Dealing with a pandemic, I don't know if anyone else has dealt with that, but like when we started, I think the end of 2019, something happened in 2020 that, people keep talking about.
That's right, because you started so how did that affect things?
Yeah, so even for us, like forming a group, trying to figure out how forming a company, trying to figure out what direction we want to take, and then having the pandemic happen and being like, is this even worth it? Mm-hmm. And then racial awakening, right? There was a reckoning that was happening, George Floyd, everything that was going on, and then like your heart's crushed at this point, right? Like, do you really want to put the effort, at least from my perspective? Like, there were some tough conversations that I was having, not even in the brew space, but just in general in my life, you know what I mean? And so you're battling those types of things. Banks aren't looking to lend money around this time. Like, there's just so many obstacles you have to deal with. And then trying to find a space, trying to find a location, like all of these things play into it. And then, like my partners, like, right, we're all from different backgrounds, culturally, professionally. So like coming together and trying to go in one direction, that's also a challenge itself. You know what I mean? And we've learned from each other. We're still constantly learning from each other. We're getting better. And it's been a great experience for us, a learning experience. But all of those things are all challenges to starting a business. But I will say, like, where we are today, I think you touched on it a little bit, like when we see people come into the tap room, some that look like us, a lot that look like us, a lot that don't look like us, and they're all having a good time in the same space, you don't see that anywhere. And so for me, anytime that I'm starting to feel down, I just like come in here, I look around, and I'm like, well, this is what we did, and this is why we did it. You know
it feels like you build in the community, like people that just come to follow the yellow and black, and they just want to be here.
Look for the yellow and black.
You gotta look for the yellow and black.
The yellow and black.
And to be here, because like when I came here the first time, it definitely it felt like people just enjoyed being in the space. They were, people. I know there were city officials here that day. Like, so it was a wide range of people who were just on their lunch break, and then people who were like, I'm going to a business meeting. In the space as well. So it's great to see that you're kind of becoming that spot where people can congregate. Yeah,
and it's not something like, it's beautiful that we can do it here, but we go to events and festivals, we bring that vibe. Like, we bring that everywhere we go. So like, even, we'll be in festivals in New Hampshire, that are predominantly white, we're still bringing that vibe. People love coming to it, they love the product, they love what we're about, they love the yellow and black.
The yellow and black.
That's the first thing we hear too, that yellow and black. but they just love the fact that we're being authentic in who we are and what we represent, and we're coming with a strong product. So I think it's great to note that we're creating a space that allows for people to congregate and do some really cool things, maybe even think about taking over the world. But again, we can take that anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty cool.
Well, this year you are bringing that energy to, again, returning to Embrace's block party for the EIF, for the Embrace Ideas Festival. We close out every year with the block party, and you're bringing it this time. But this time you got something special. So tell us about Summer in the City.
Yeah, Summer in the City. All right, so well, we had this conversation. We started talking about how could we, bridge sort of that concept or idea about bringing people together in the summer and just kicking back that old school like block party feel, and having like a summer type beer, like really light, refreshing. And I think, I'll let you talk a little bit more on the actual beer itself, but I think the concept of Summer in the City, and you'll see it on the label when we roll that thing out, it's just that. It's just being outside, block parties, barbecues, everybody's enjoying themselves, music. And I think that's kind of what the block party is about, right? It's like coming together, bringing people together, having a good time. I mean, last year we had a blast. Like, real talk, I was sitting there pouring some beers, and I look over, I see some people double dutching over there. I'm like, man, I want to get up in there, but I still can't get that timing to get in. I know once I get in, I can do it.
I've never been able to do that.
I still can't do it. So,
so you ain't alone, bro.
Right? But, just to be in that atmosphere and hanging out, and then Edo comes over and just like, man, I love this beer that you have right here. I'm like, this Edo tree. So it's just like those types of things, like being a part of that. I think we wanted to celebrate that and creating a beer like Summer in the City. So I don't know, Julian, if you want to talk about kind of what encompasses the actual beer itself.
The beer itself was our take on a German-inspired Pilsner. So base malt was Pilsner malt. We did a specialty hop blend for that one as well, which kind of highlights like the bitterness side of it, which edges on also the maltiness of the beer, and then the dryness and crispness you get from the lagering process. I think all in all, it's a very highly drinkable beer, which I think we all agreed on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's not just that beer. All your beers kind of, like the last few that you let me taste, they felt like summer. Like Summer in the City definitely feels like I'm outside. Block party is summertime. But then even the faded, that has that flavor too. Like that feels more like resort. Like I'm on the beach. You know what I mean? It feels like there should be some sand around with this. And and what I love about what you guys do is that there are those stories that bring you into community. Like now I'm learning about the Porta Rosa, right? Porta Rosa. I'm learning about that and learning that story, learning about this one, learning about even all of those have a way to draw that in, and I love what you guys do with that. So that's a beautiful thing. Yeah, so the question I have is, how, just in your mind as you look forward, how do you see Brockton Beer Company growing and getting bigger and getting more involved in? And how are you going to take over the world?
Yeah, I knew you could ask me that. No, I think we're starting to approach that now. I think the combination
domination he's talking about.
Domination. Yeah. We're starting to No, but I think through the combination of events, similar to the block party, those types of things are very key for us to be out there showcasing what we are, and again, being authentic on who we are, and showcasing a quality product. Distribution is another one. We just got our license over to allow ourselves to self-distribute probably within the last 60 days. So we've just started to hit the pavement, delivering our beers. Like you can find us in places like Park 54, the Pearl. I got to talk to Luther over there, but we'll get out there. We'll be in a few places that are in Boston, in the city, Cambridge, Somerville, parts of North Shore, mainly down in this area as well. But we want
the secret. I need to have this over at Grace by Nia so I can mix this with my greens.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I have my name. Not necessarily, but I'm not mean mixing like pork, man, but like this feels like it could go with their food really well. So we gotta get you over there too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of our plan right now for 2024. I think going beyond that, I'd like to sort of take that concept and maybe, build that somewhere else as well. Like showcase that, like, this is, what we're doing here in Brockton, we can do in other places as well. It's all about community. How do we how to create those spaces for people, not just in creating a space for people to enjoy themselves and having quality drink and great food, because we do that as well. But I think even providing a space that can help others that are thinking about maybe taking the step of maybe becoming a brewer, like what can we do in the same sense of like lifting as we climb, you know what I mean? So I think that's kind of forward thinking. There are a lot of uncharted waters, like the industry right now is definitely going through some different difficulties and some changes in terms of people's tastes and all that stuff, but we're pushing through and showcasing the stuff that we've got here, and I think it's pretty cool.
So for you, what are your favorites of what you've created?
I think there's a time and a place for everything.
You sound like a politician, don't you?
that was the most political answer. Like he didn't want to offend one of his children.
Yeah,
one of his favorite
they're all my
kids.
favorites.
Yeah, I don't want to say all of them were my favorite, but I would say some of the ones are really closer to the ABV more than anything else. So usually anything that we have on tap, like lower than like 5% or so, you probably see me drinking personally. But other than that, I'm not gonna pick one. You know?
Now, is there? Because I feel like there's such a creativity that goes into what you do. When you're creating the mixes, but even the story behind it and the graphics, like everything is a full creative function that you're going through when you're doing these. Is there anything that you have in your mind, like in the future, like okay, is there something you want to attack? Like okay, you want to do your spin on something, or like hey, there's something you've been fascinated with that you want to bring into the world of brewing? Because I know that brewing, there's also African brews and there's those kind of things, and those are stories that you want to tell as well.
We have a lot of those things coming up in the pipeline, actually. But like drawing like inspiration, I think is what you're getting at, is really from everything. Just walking in here, walking down the street, from day to day. I mean, that's what these beers are like based off of, is those interactions, community driven. I mean, like some of these beers we've done in here are because of people from this community here in general. So,
yeah. Because I'm fascinated by what you guys are going to do next. Like I want to see, because like everything is, it's almost like reading a book, and like the next chapter you're like, oh man, the last chapter was good. What's going to happen next? So we know that in the future you're looking to kind of get your distribution. What are the ways that people, if there anybody who's listened to us or watching us, they want to get involved and they want to know more about Brockton Beer Company? How do they get in touch with you? How do they, if I have a pub and how do I get Brockton Beer into my pub?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like IG, like follow us at Brockton Beer. Facebook, any of the other social media platforms, you can find us. But I think what's really crucial, if you've got a place that you love going to, if you can't get down here, tag us. You know what I'm saying? Say like such and such, you got to get Brockton Beer. You know what I mean? You got to look for that yellow and black. Like you got to find us. You know what I mean? So I think that's probably the most important thing for us. If you're not in a location that you can get down here, try some more beers in some of the locations that we're at and tag us. If you see our beer and if you're enjoying a Yasuke, take a picture and tag us. If you don't see it, take a picture and tag that person and be like, you need to get some. But I think that's important.
But your beer goes so well with food as well, because like, but let's not just gloss over the food here, because like I've legitimately been telling people, and this is not me just blowing it up, I've been telling people that your burger is the best burger that I've had ever. Period. And as you can see, I have been in the burger consumption business for a while, and I've had a few burgers in my lifetime, and legitimately, your burger and the food here is just great. So, for folks who like enjoy the beer, but also there's a full experience of getting the food as well. Yeah. Why was that important to kind of get the food part of it right when you open the tap room?
Yeah, I always talk about intentionality, but I think that was again key. Like we have the two brothers here, Marcos and Toast, the head chefs, and very similar to we approached Julian, we approached the boys as well. Just like, look, here's the concept, here's what we're trying to do, here's what it means to us. Is that something that? And they were already on board. They were like, yes. And I think there's this beautiful trifecta when it comes to the product of the food here, with the head brewer, with Julian and Toast and Marcos. Like, I've got this beer called Yasuke, and this is kind of what's going on. And they'll be back there, the three of them will be back there kind of coming up with ideas and concepts. So you'll see on the menu a lot of the food is infused with some form of some of the beers that we have here, whether they're cooked with, whether it's a salad dressing, a barbecue sauce, or anything else. Like, it's pretty cool. But then when you start to really look into the menu itself, and you understand that, like, okay, yeah, my partner Ro, Canadian, my partner Ed, Filipino, me, I had Jamaican background. Like, we've got all of these different flavors. So then you look and you see, okay, we got pork belly bao buns, right? We've got poutine, right, topped with oxtails. Like, what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? So people are starting to really understand that, like, we've got something that you just don't see in this area in terms of the creativity of the food, but also the quality of the food. The Brockton Beer Burger was just in the Enterprise News, I think, 2-3 weeks ago, for one of the best burgers in the South Shore area. So, we're getting some attention, we're getting noticed, but I think when people come in here, come to this space, right, have the food, have the beer, check the vibe, you'll see why we have a 4.9 stars on Google right now.
Okay. Now, is that something when you're creating the beer, does the beer come first or does the food come first? Like, or is this like, yo, I just made this, and they're like, okay, when they start to cook something up?
It's maybe like a different realm, I guess, but I feel like we're constantly like chasing each other's tails. One make one thing, another person make another thing, that kind of that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I am happy you guys are going to be a part of the festival. I'm definitely happy to have you as partners for Embrace. I'm going to figure out a way to get back here for this burger because, I said the grill is closed right now.
Oh, they about to show up, start prepping soon.
Listen, I don't have no problem hanging around for that burger. That was incredible. But I appreciate you guys sharing with us today and sharing your journey with us. And I know that more and more people are going to really be coming out to get involved with you guys. So thank you very much for being with us. And now my final question for you, we ask this of everybody. Who do you think we need to have on the show first? So the idea is that we're looking for people who are like yourselves, disruptors in their spaces, who are trying to cause good trouble in the best way by their existence and the work that they do. So in your sphere, who are the people that you think, like, you know what, you need to talk to this person?
I don't know if you've had them yet. The folks at Comfort Kitchen.
No, I have not.
I mean, I'd even start with Kaisha over there, like, from the bar side of things. But what they're doing, I mean, very similar in terms of what they're doing on the food game, like what we're doing here on the brew side. For me, I always look to them as like almost like a cousin. I mean, they're just doing so many beautiful things in their community, but just such a diverse group of folks that are a part of that group. Like, I love their story, I love what they're doing, and I think that would be kind of cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got them on the list. Gentlemen, thank you again. I appreciate you for being here.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yes.
This is awesome.
No, listen, we had a good time. I always have a good time hanging out with y'all. And listen, so if you are out there in the world, you get an opportunity, come on down to the Brockton Beer Company, and we appreciate you tuning into Good Trouble. And wherever you're at, we're there. So wherever you listen to your podcast, go there, tag us, let us know that you're listening, and subscribe, all that stuff. And, make sure you come out to the block party. And if you miss the block party, then come on down to Brockton Beer Company and you can get the same flavor right here because this stuff is good. And we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Until next time, that's it. Bye.
Thanks, man.